Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
After our double race 2 weeks ago, we stay south of the equator and head to the island continent, Australia. No, not to Bathurst, but just outside the capital of Victoria. That's Melbourne, for you and me. In Brazil, we were between two lakes, but tonight we're next to just one. It's called, oddly enough, Swan Lake, and it's at a circuit that's known mostly for motorcycle racing, with luminaries such as Casey Stoner and McDouhan lending their names to the corners. But it's a harrowing, fast circuit for cagers as well, and our racers will be taking to many of tonight's corners with their Mazda and Toyota motors wrung out, albeit to a slightly lower than Superbike-like 7,000 RPM. Welcome everyone to Phillip Island Grand Prix Circuit for round number 4 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup, presented by the SDK Foundation and Proforma Elite here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Greg Ginsberg along with Larry Lefty McLeod, and for tonight's 75-minute battle, thankfully we've got Jonathan Grabowski, when he's not watching NASCAR, in the virtual production truck, who's going to be bringing you all of the best camera angles and action that Apex Racing TV is known for. And so, good evening, Larry, or should I say good day, mate. This 2 3/4 mile circuit, which we last visited back all the way back in season 21, should make for some pretty epic racing, because, you know, Phillip Island, it's got a bit of everything to highlight the strengths of these MX-5 and GR86 Cup cars.
Your Australian accent reminds me of Jim Carrey trying to do an Austrian accent,
Yes.
but we're going to leave that one alone because we are actually here at
You should see the knife I
my...
pulled out when I said that.
That's not a knife. We're here at one of my favorite tracks on this platform, and it's a little known track that people outside of iRacing often don't even know about. It is a gem, this little Phillip Island track, and especially for these sort of low horsepower cars that do a lot of real great side-by-side type racing. And that's what we're going to get tonight, is a lot of it. We've got 25 hungry drivers ready to take on this track. They're going to love this. You're going to love being entertained. If you remember a couple of weeks ago, I said it when we were at Interlagos, how much fun that was and how much great racing. This place drives the same in these kind of cars. I am super excited about this. This is going to be a great night for racing.
Yeah, I've only raced it, Larry, in Formula Vs, but and they are, pretty much is a flat-out track for anything in a Formula V. But you've got these elevation changes. You've got this after rising up, I think like somewhere around 40 meters or so, you drop down a hill into a hairpin where you've got this threshold braking you got to get done. It is such a challenging course, and there's such these very long, wide turn complexes that it's going to, I think, promote a lot of side-by-side racing in the two classes. But, let's do this. Why don't we, as we do each and every round here in the Touring Car Cup, let's turn things over to Kevin Ford. He's going to give us tonight's track guide of the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit.
Welcome, everyone, to beautiful Melbourne, Australia, and the incredible Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. 2 3/4 miles in length is what it takes to get a lap done around this place, and 12 exciting corners, one of them 57 meters in height. This place is full of undulation, excitement, and speed. As we head up the front straightaway here, you'll notice our main pit area to the left as we get ready to approach the starting finish line here as we come across the stripe underneath the walkway bridge and come over the crest to head down this very fast entry into turn 1. You will see overtaking here for certain coming down into this corner, as it is a very fast, wide, sweeping right-hander. Drivers will have to get right back to the right here to set up their entry for turn 2 into the southern loop here, and it is a loop. Very, very long wrapping corner. Never seems to end, but that track out does come at you pretty quick here as you come off the exit. Coming over this little crest here, this will take us down through turn 3. Very slight left-hander as we approach the tight wrapping right-hander of Honda Corner. This will be turn 4 on the circuit. Get all the way down into first gear here as we wrap the bottom of that corner. Get a nice run up off the exit. The track wraps back against itself here as we come through 5 and now into turn 6. Wrap that apex, let that car track up off the exit. We'll get back up through the gears as we will be pedal to the floor through this whole section of S's here. This will take us through turn 7 and 8, and then we'll approach turn 9 here of Lukey Heights. This is that 57-meter rise in the track surface here as we come all the way up the hill with that blinding sun, over the crest, and then down through the gears and into that very tight right-hander. A little hairpin here at Phillip Island. Coming up off of that, want to get right back to the left for these big wrapping left-hand sweepers to bring you back out onto the very long, fast straightaway here. Coming out of this final corner, turn 12, get a good run up off the exit and race our way up this straightaway towards that start-finish line. There you go. There's your track guide for the incredible, very fast Phillip Island circuit. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks so much to Kevin Ford for tonight's track guide of Phillip Island. And so, Larry, just like we were saying, I think Kevin pretty much put a nail on it. This is a track that really promotes speed in, he was in the MX-5, but same thing for the GR86 here, and it's going to make for some great racing tonight.
Yeah, this place just flows all the way from the high speed, daring it to go flat out turn 1 into the somewhere you got to take speed off to make this massive sweeping turn 2. And then you get to a tight hairpin, and then you get to a little bit more open corner, and then a more open corner. And just every corner seems to have these great speed variations corner to corner, which makes great racing. And the other thing that this track has is, we've noticed this before in great tracks that race well side by side, is every left turn is followed by a right turn. There's really no places that there's consecutive corners in the same direction, which would give a driver an advantage once they get one side. Every time you think you have the advantage on one of the corners, you're going to have a disadvantage on the next corner, and it creates this fantastic racing. I've seen real life racing here. It was Porsche Cup a couple of years ago, and it was just as good as you could imagine. We're going to get the same thing tonight on the GR86s and a lot of these Miatas. This is going to be an absolute ton of fun.
Well, Larry, the track that this reminds me of the most, and Phillip Island is a lot longer, and it has has 6 more corners, but it actually reminds me very much of Mosport, of Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, in very much the same way. A lot of flowing corners, a lot of elevation change, and as you said, you go from a left turn to a right turn, and then you've got the Moss hairpin or at at Mosport. You've got the hairpin here down, I guess what they refer to as MG. Miller
corner, and then they've got turn 10, another hairpin, and that's the difference here than what you've got at Mosport, is that at Mosport you get the long Andretti straight, which is all uphill, it's difficult to climb, and it's followed by this series of long sort of corners that are almost decreasing, which if you make a pass there, you're going to make it stick. Here, this long straightaway is this massive turn 1, nearly flat out Duhan corner, followed immediately by this long sweeping left-hander. So you don't have that opportunity to stick the pass because you're going to get repassed right away. And we're going to see some of that. Now, the other thing is you and I were just talking about while we were letting the track guide roll is fuel strategies. So do we want to get into how difficult this can be tonight? 75 minutes? These cars don't hold that much fuel.
No, they don't, and this is going to be, I think, probably for certainly the first time this season and the first time in many seasons where our drivers are likely going to have to make 2 pit stops in order to make it to the checkered flag. That we think that the MX-5 cars, the street tuner cars, can probably only go about 16 laps on a tank of fuel. The Club Sport drivers, Club Sport cars, the Toyota GR86s, likely 18 laps. And we think for both types of cars, it's probably going to be a 42 or 43 lap race. And they would have to do a heck of a lot of fuel saving, Larry, like around the equivalent of about 6 laps or so, in order to be able to make it on just a single fuel stop. So,
and on time-wise, 6 laps being about maybe 10, 11 minutes of actual race time, that's a lot of time to save. And I think there's a couple of teams which we've seen. Some of the D2D drivers, Eric Violet, one of them. We've seen the Orion drivers, of course, Mike Dam and the gang. Both of them have done extended trips where they've been able to stretch a lap or 2. But as you say, stretching 6 laps plus, that may be and at that point, maybe you can try and make that last stop a splash and go, but frankly, the in and out of that pit stop is going to take the longest, which means the rest of this race could be pretty much a barn burner of just, go for qualifying laps for an hour and 15 minutes. This could be a little crazy. As long as we don't have a Long Beach situation, we should be good to go for 75 minutes of green.
No GTP cars and a hairpin, so I think we'll be fine. If you missed
last week's race, then you got to go back on. And you got to go catch the replay of that one. But
go back and check Apex Racing TV for the Ricmotech World Challenge last weekend from Long Beach, and get some popcorn for the safety car session. All right,
just skip through that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so Larry, we've got our drivers out for qualifying right now. It is a 15-minute qualifying session in which our drivers get 4 opportunities, 4 flying laps in order to set a fast lap. And we are supposed to be gridding up the Toyotas together. We'll be gridding up the Mazdas together. And the group that will get the green flag first is supposed to be based on the fastest laps in practice this week. And in practice, I believe the fastest lap time came in from Andrew Sharp in his Club Sport, the Toyota, the Vermilion Motorsports driver, who his first outing with us was 2 weeks ago at Interlagos, where he finished just off the top step of the podium twice. He turned in a 145.648, our fastest Mazda, our street tuner car, a 146.148. That was Michael Chase from Chase Motorsports. So likely the Toyotas will be the first group to take the green flag. But let's do this because we have 4 different classes here this evening, Larry. Let's quickly run down so that our drivers know who they are and what we do to distinguish between them. You get a pretty good idea if you look at our timing pylon on the left-hand side of the screen. We're looking right now at Matt Porter, who is the fastest of our Club Sport Pro drivers. The Club Sport cars are the Toyota GR86s. You can tell the Pro cars because they've got black number boards, end plates on the wings, mirrors, and windshield banners on them, and so that is what you'll use to distinguish the Pro drivers. And we can see Porter right now with a fast lap of 145.33, and my God, he's consistent because he just hit his previous lap. His second lap did not improve upon it. That was a 145.36, so he was a 300th of a second off of his best time. If we move over to Club Sport AM, and we'll look, and this may not impress all the folks from the Klim Club in the chat tonight, all like 75 of you. Thanks for joining us. By the way, here's David Klimovich. He is driving one of our Club Sport AM cars, and he's currently the fastest of the Club Sport AM drivers with a qualifying time of 145.88. Obviously, this lap's going to be invalidated. The AM drivers you can pick out because they've got the orange number boards on the cars, mirrors, and plate on the wings, and windshield banner. Let's move over to Street Tuner, and we'll take a look. And there's let's move over. We're going to take a look at Mike Dam, who is currently our fastest driver in Street Tuner, which are the Mazda MX-5 Cup cars. He has a qualifying time currently of 145.88, and I think his last lap was a little bit off that pace. But you can pick out the pro drivers in Street Tuner because they've got the red number boards, mirrors, windshield banners, and no end plates on their wings, Larry, because oddly enough,
ain't got no wings.
Ain't got no wings. No Red Bull for them. All right, and in Street Tuner AM, and we're going to take a look at Steve Daniel, who I believe is also not only the fastest Street Tuner AM driver on track right now with a qualifying time of 147.05, but also currently leads the championship in Street Tuner AM. Those drivers, you can pick them out because they've got the green number boards and mirrors on their cars, and it looks like it's a black windshield banner. So.
And Victor Harris currently is the provisional pole sitter in AM. He's just not on track right now, which is why we're not showing him. Steve Daniel, we're going to get a great shot of him pulling down the pit entry, which apparently we're going to see quite a few times tonight.
Yes.
We're going to make that 2 pit stops each, and they're going to see a lot of that pit in. It is a very fast pit in. Pit lane's not too long. You can get back out. I didn't notice which pit out they're using because there's something unique about this track. I normally wouldn't talk about the strategies of pit exits, but in this track, there's the main pit exit just on the driver's left, and as we've got a shot here of, I guess, Rob Hartley coming down the front straight, just right there as he goes past it, that is the main pit exit. Dumps you right into the racing line very abruptly, or they could run down parallel, and you can see that one that merges in down further. Often
right to the entrance of turn 1.
Yeah, and most leagues use that one.
Yeah, and I think from watching the practice a little bit earlier today, I have a feeling it's probably going to be the longer one that dumps you out right at just past the turn in for turn number 1. Yeah. All right, so Larry, let's take a look. Do we have our guest yet? No, we do not, and we're gonna have one of the Carey brothers tonight. I think we talked to Paul Carey a couple of weeks ago. We're gonna talk to Rodney Carey from Carey Racing tonight. Let's do this. Let's take a quick look at the point standings as they currently sit after 3 rounds in the championship. We're going to start off. Let's start off with Club Sport, and we're going to start off with Club Sport AM. Jonathan, if that's okay with you, let's throw those up now. 2 weeks ago in Club Sport AM, we had David Klimovich take the win in race number 1. And he won race number 2 as well. He slept the weekend. He swept
so good.
The evening. I know. after a weekend in NOLA, I could use the sleep. But if we take a look at the point standings currently in AM, Paul Carey is currently your points leader with Rodney Carey running 7 points. That's not 7 points back, running 5 points back from his brother Russ Ruddick, third, Tom Jenkins, and David Klimovich currently sitting 5th in the championship. If we switch over to Pro, Eric Violette took the win in both races, both 30-minute races that we had at Interlagos, and with that win, he manages to extend his lead, which is now 6 points over Andrew Sharp from Vermilion Racing. And then we've got Mariano Barrios from Friendly Neighborhood Racing. He's got the Spider-Man on the sides of the car. with 181 points, Brendan Whitworth from D2D, and then Jeff Jacobs from the SCCA Foundation. And so let's move over to Street Tuner, where this one, Larry, haven't had a lot of drivers run in Street Tuner. It has been pretty much Victor Harris and Steve Daniel all season long, and I think we've got a third driver here tonight. I think we've got Robert Brist as well, but Victor Harris took the win in race number 1 2 weeks ago at Interlagos. He took the win at race number 2 with Steve Daniel finishing second in both races. And if we take a look at the point standings, though, because Harris, I don't believe, was at round 1. And so we've got Steve Daniel currently with 147 points with a 42-point advantage over Victor Harris. You'll notice that Robert Brist, well, he got bonus points, Larry, for attending a practice session earlier this week. And so that puts him with 1 point on the board. And that is it right now for Street Tuner AM. If we go over to Street Tuner Pro, a lot more drivers. Mike Dam took the win in race number 1 2 weeks ago with Travis Schwenke finishing second. In race number 2, Chris Thorman took the win for D2D with Travis Schwenke finishing second. But even with that, Mike Dam still is your current points leader with 192. He's got a 9-point advantage over Travis Schwenke. And then their Orion teammate, Robert Hartley, is sitting third with Jeff Cranston from Craney Customs and Chris Thorman from D2D Sim Racing, 4th and 5th, respectively.
Yeah, we get into the heat of the season here, right in the middle of it, and we get to see a night like tonight is very different than where we were a couple weeks ago, where we ran those split races at Interlagos. Tonight it's the full 75-minute, and I think it's going to have a different feel tonight. Probably everyone's going to spend some time feeling things out, let the pack try to break away, and then we're going to get to the pre-pit stops, and I think you're going to see some shuffling, see some aggression, and you might see some slightly different strategies, knowing if you know you got to make 2 stops, and you're in traffic, you can make one early and make the next one whenever you want. So could be very, very interesting on strategy, but looks like the grid is queuing up.
Yeah, and real quick, Larry, I want to let all of our viewers know that qualifying was brought to you by Proforma Elite. If you want to find out more about them, go to www.proformaetg.com. And tonight's race, there's the logo right in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, brought to you by the SCCA Foundation, the charitable arm of the Sports Car Club of America. To find out more, go to sccafoundation.org. All right, let's run down the starting order here, Larry, and we'll get things rolling. Why don't we start off with our Club Sport racers, our Toyota racers. They're going to be at the front of the field. I'll take those if you want to take the Mazdas. Starting on pole for Orion Racing, saw him, I think, starting at Interlagos. It is Matt Porter with his teammate Leo Dragota on the front row as well. Then we've got Eric Violet and Andrew Sharp. And then Mariano Barrios and Tom Rathke, they will make up row number 3. Brandon Whitworth and Bobby Childs from D2D will make up row number 4. And then Jeff Jacobs and David Klimovich will make up row number 5. Then we've got Brandon Whitworth and Jeff Jacobs, Bobby Childs and Paul Carey, Tom Jacobs and Rodney Carey, and then Dale Maxwell rounding out the Toyotas.
All right, moving over to the Mazdas on the pole tonight. It's a front row lockup from Orion, but it's Rob Hartley on pole tonight at 45.8, just 40 thousandths ahead of points leader and his teammate Mike Dam. Row 2 on the inside in only his second race of the season. Mike Chase out here from Chase Motorsports. He's going to break up the Orion front 2 rows, putting Travis Schwenke, the third of the Orion drivers, on the outside of row 2. On row 3 on the inside, it's going to be Chris Thorman, lined up with teammate David Payton, both in D2D Sim Racing. On row 4, it is going to be, actually in there, we're going to have the AM driver, Victor Harris, will be squeezed in there. We'll get to that in a second. Follow then into the pro category, Jeff Cranston, Craney Customs, and Brennan Horn from D2D. And as I mentioned, you had Victor Harris wedged in there. Then you've got Steve Daniel, the other ST driver, a couple spots back, and then Robert Brist joining the field tonight. 3 of the ST AMs making our field tonight.
All right, so we've got the pace car now bringing the field around, and Larry, it's almost like it's a V8 supercar race. just a couple years removed. We've got a Ford Mustang as our pace car down in Australia. All right, they are bringing the Toyotas around, and we do have, as we always do here in the Touring Car Cup, a real live human being giving the start command to our racers, and our first racers, they will get the green flag, and then our Mazda drivers will wait for the command to start as well. The start zone for this race is, I believe, right after they come onto the front straight, just past the exit curbing on driver's left. And then, of course, our drivers, they can accelerate. They cannot pass until they get to the start finish line.
Very interesting tonight, seeing on the pole there that it was not your points leader Eric Violette on the pole. In fact, with Porter getting that call tonight, so very, very interesting. And also Leo Jagoda up there, actually the other of the T2D drivers out qualifying his teammates. So some good competition tonight. This could be a very fun race here at this in these Toyotas.
Yeah, exactly. And so, as we mentioned, Porter started, was not here for round number 1. He may have been here, may have come in for round number 2. If I'll have to go and double check. Yeah, exactly. But Porter currently sitting down 9th in the championship. Leo Dragoda 6th in the championship. So yeah, a bit of a surprise there as our drivers are now coming up the final corner and onto the front straight. Of course, the pace car now already on the pit lane, waiting for the green flag.
Look at them pushing each other already.
Yeah, and there we go. Green flag is in the air, and we are racing from Phillip Island. Yes, sir. As they come down, as we see Dragoda move all the way over to driver's left to try and open up this corner. Big, sweeping left-hander. They're going to have to get on the brake slightly as they then bend in to the left for this left-hand turn. Very late apex, but you see there they can actually stick those cars right on the curbing, and jumping back to the front is Matt Porter, then Dragoda, then Violet, and then Sharp, with Mariano Barrios there all by himself in 5th as the Mazdas now get the start as well.
They're 5 wide already. Did not take long. You watch those GRD6s. They stayed in pairs all the way down to turn 2. Not the Mazdas. They're going to break up. But look at this. We're back down to 2x2s with the Orion lockout in that front row. Let's see if that third place can get up in there and break up these Orions.
Yeah, we see the green car there of that is Victor of Chase. Pardon me. That's right. As he now does get around, well, we've got Victor Harris sitting right in there in the yellow machine, and then we've got Mike Chase and David Payton as well. But it is, for the moment, a 1-2-3 Orion as they now come down and over into the left, or probably the right-hander over at turn 4, the kind of quasi hairpin Honda corner.
Yeah, they are Iser AM leader. That is Harris, the pole sitter in the AM. Of course, they mix in with the pros in the grid field. He's already gotten around Chase now, so it's as well did Schwenke, because Chase actually, I believe, qualified third. He's now down to 5th in the run order, with both Schwenke and then Harris getting around him. But what that does mean is Orion right now out in the front, with Hartley leading Dam and Schwenke. But look at Harris even getting a little anxious back there behind Schwenke. Doesn't want to lose any ground to the front too.
All right, let's head back to the Toyotas, where we saw that it's Orion with the Mazdas in Street Tuner, but in Club Sport it's just Orion Larry here, as we then have Violet and Sharp very close behind. But we'll see here again at this track, and with how well both the Mazdas and the Toyotas draft with one another. I think it's going to be very hard for a lot of these racers to kind of skip away, especially given how wide open a lot of these corners are.
It is tough to get away here, because not only do you have the drafting coming out of the hairpin on turn 10, you draft all the way down to turn 1, essentially flat to 1 all the way to 2, and then you can draft from 2 all the way down to the next hairpin. So you end up with these long draft zones, very hard to get away. But interestingly, we did just have a penalty, a start violation assigned to Victor Harris. We were just talking about his great start. Well, they say he jumped the start pass before start finish. He's going to get a drive-through black flag penalty for your AM leader, Victor Harris.
Yeah, that is a shame. As Victor Harris currently sitting up, and well, let's see where if he's already started to drop back.
He's already serving that penalty.
Yeah, he's serving the penalty now. Yeah.
Well, we've got an onboard right here, though. This is Dave Klimovich, Clem Club on long watching, and he's trying to chase down Jeff Jacobs in that 38 SDK Foundation with the Florida Gator logo there on the lower left rear, you can see. The Philly native gets his college ties to Florida.
Yeah, I got to meet Jeff in person for the first time in beautiful Scranton, Pennsylvania, where just a few weeks ago, is of course Jeff is one of the officers of the SCCA Foundation, and met him at the Northeast Division banquet and conference. Good to put a name to the face.
I have been autocrossing against Jeff for the better part of 25 years. Going back to before I decided to jump into go-karts, I was running front-wheel drive cars, and Jeff and his co-driver were in my class. I got to run against him a long time ago, and we're still only in our 20s, both of us. But he's a great competitor, great guy, and you can see he has a good time with this league. One of the admins, of course, here in this Extreme Ricmotech series, and as you say, part of the SCCA Foundation head group there, running up that, who happens to be one of these sponsors and partners here of this series.
You know, Larry, but we could talk all day about Jeff Jacobs. But what about the driver right behind him, David Klimovich? No, but
we'll get to him. He had a great week last week. What I'm looking for is all the battles behind Klimovich. Even is he had the two teammates there. I believe those Whitworth and was that Bobby?
That's Bobby Child, who hasn't gone off yet.
One of them just exited stage right. That's Bobby hitting the wall, coming out of 10.
You see, and there's the curse, Bobby. Larry, as I said, that's Bobby Child, who hasn't gone off yet, and there you go.
Oh, Bobby.
Bobby.
Not how we like to see him, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, Bobby does not have as large a fan club in the chat. He's only got Stubby. I'm sorry, Stubby.
Well, let's see the nice. We got the replay here. He's the lead car of those two teammates from D2D coming through turn 10, and he just lost it. Got to the curb on the left, hooked to the right, into the wall.
Into the wall he goes.
These cars are always twitchy. We've talked about that. They tip and they move the weight very fast, abruptly, and you have to be able to manage that. So it means when you drop a tire, it gets a little rough. All right, so now as we flash up here, notice what's happened is Mr. Chase, Mike Chase, has gotten around a couple of the Orion cars, but there's been a shuffling because what was the leader in that was Rob Hartley, he's moved down to fourth. Schwenke's up to second.
And like Mike Dam is your new leader.
That's the draft effect of what happens here. Watch them leapfrog all day long.
Yeah, it looks like I'm watching a Formula V race at this point.
You know what?
They've got no choice but to go and draft by the car in front of them.
Can we call this the Great Australian Race, being that the Great American Race just happened tonight? Because that's exactly what this is going to be. It's all draft. It's like restrictor plate racing. These cars have got no power, so they rely on strategy and draft. And you're watching them chase now up to second spot because he's gone around Schwenke. He's gone around Rob Hartley, and now he's got one more to go. May not last, but look at this. This pack of 10 is still together, and it's going to be like this for the next hour.
I was going to say probably for an incredibly long time. And, you know, and looking back right behind Rob Hartley, we've got David Payton from D2D. He took a quick look underneath Robert Hartley there a moment ago, and I thought Hartley was going to end up maybe temporarily losing touch with Schwenke ahead, and but I think Peyton realized pretty darn quickly that it was probably the wrong place at the wrong time to do that.
And Peyton right behind him is his teammate Chris Thorman, of course, got a win 2 weeks ago at Interlagos. So you got guys all the way through this that have got some speed and talent. That's going to be part of why this is going to stay like this. What tends to break these up is, I hate to say it, but a wreck. That often is how these packs get broken. Somebody spins off and out of the way, and it puts that separation as everybody else checks up. Right now, that hasn't happened yet among these, in the STs at least. Club Sports, well, we saw a wreck.
We saw one already. and you can see how it's already broken up the field there, as we've got the two. And I don't know how much Bobby had to do with that, because it looks like we've got Jacobs there, and Jacobs now, and interestingly enough, Klimovich has now lost positions to both Tom Jenkins and Brandon Whitworth. So, but that whole second pack, look behind Jacobs, there is now just a big strung out pack there.
Yeah, they're a little bit more separated than the ones up front. The ones up front are actually fighting. We had just seen a moment ago, I think it was Sharp and Barrios are battling a little bit there between the 24 and the 424. And then right behind them, it should be Tom Rafke. So you've got those guys in the second half of this top 6 still fighting out, but notice they haven't lost any ground because you can run side by side within a second of your optimal lap run here. That's how this place races. And you just watch them go lap after lap. We got a good shot of Andrew Sharp there in his sim rig. That's a cool, like, full containment seat he's in.
Yeah.
It's nice.
You wouldn't want to fall out of that thing. So
I might.
Yeah, and remember, Sharp was our fastest driver during practice. Turning in, but Larry, he turned in a 45.6, and we're already seeing the front of this pack almost 0.4 of a second faster than that under race conditions.
Yeah, they're just flying around here. But you notice that he was also Sharp just getting a push from Tom Rafke. So Rafke deciding better to just push from the back, be the 6th pushing the 5th, than to try and make a pass. That can work. Sometimes, though, doing the leapfrogging can generally be faster. You just have to coordinate it very well, especially if you get to be side by side down through one. Somebody's got to take the advantage. But that seemed to work there for Rafke to keep it in together. But out in front of this group, it is Eric Violet showing some serious patience with the 2 Orion drivers in front of him. He's not trying to make a move on them. They seem to be showing some pretty good pace, but he's just going to sit back and wait. Maybe fuel save.
All right, and here we go as Dam and Schwenke retake first and second, and Mike Chase gets now shuffled back into third. But as you said, Larry, not a huge surprise that we're seeing that, as we now will see David Payton taking a look at Chase. And this run side by side, though, Larry, it might drop them back just a little bit from our 2 leaders. Yeah. We'll see here. This actually, and you talk about restrictor plate racing, this actually does remind me somewhat of NASCAR. You know, who do you get behind and who do you push?
Oh, absolutely is what it is, because even through the hairpin, you can go side by side there because it's followed up immediately by essentially a hairpin. The next corner they're through here now, it is just so tight. So you can work it out as long as you're back in line to get the draft as you climb this bit of an incline, this hill, through this weaving corners that are really just a bent straightaway. And then you make the crest all the way around as we start to come to the high point of the track up there at Lukey Heights. And then down. And then
down into the hairpin,
Yep.
Into the tightest hairpin.
Yes, down into that turn 10, that off-camber downhill as you go to Lukey Heights. And this down here looks like turn 2. Oh, it's just such a fun track. It's fun to lap, but it's amazing to race. And you can just tell now, what I think we're seeing here is some patience in Eric Violet. Even now he's got Mariano Barrios, who's being aggressive here at these early stages. He just let him go. He's not going to bother doing any kind of fighting at this point. Violet looks content. Again, he's the points leader. He comes in with a couple of wins into this season, so he's not really, trying to earn one tonight. No. He just wants to be there in the 70th minute so he can win it, at the end. And we'll see if Barrios just wants to get up in that front mix to make sure the pack doesn't separate. The 2 teammates out in front with Porter and Jagoda are working very well together. Let's see how this happens now. Are they able to, or does Mariano Barrios push the situation a little bit?
Well, and you take a look there. I think right at the back of that pack there, Tom Rathke has been taking a look to the inside on Andrew Sharp now for the last couple of corners, and I think he's kind of sensing that maybe Sharp is having a little trouble keeping up with the pack ahead.
Yeah, remember we saw this, if you go back a couple of weeks now, to the race at Zandvoort. It was Sharp, it was Barrios, it was Violet, and they had a fantastic race between them, a lot of drafting going on. In the end, it was Sharp able to make that draft pass right at the end. He may be thinking he's got to set up for that. No one be patient now, but be in that top 5 when time comes. So we'll get back to that in a minute as we flash over to our Miatas here doing what they do. So Mike Dan has been shuffled back just a little bit behind Chris Thorman now.
Thorman with a nice little move there, and you can see, as we're saying, this reminds me very much of a Formula V race, Larry, because these drivers, they know what's up, they know what the deal is. They are not contesting these passes, because as soon as they contest them, you have that gap that gets opened up, just like the gap there from David Payton, or from Thorman up to Payton.
Yeah. Well, let's see now as Dan comes down the front straightaway. He's going to go to the inside. He's got his teammate behind him. He may be waiting, interestingly, to not make that pass. Maybe he's thinking that Thorman got a good enough run that he can catch Peyton by the time they get down to the hairpin. Let's see. It all kind of defines how well you do a lap by this corner in turn 2. It's you have to glide the car into it, but you got to get on the gas early as it opens up and then comes out around 2 down towards the kink at 3. You do it right, you can catch the pack by the time you get down to the hairpin at 4. Looks like they're doing all right on this lap, closing that gap ever so closely.
And we saw Dan
go.
giving Thorman a little bit of a shove there
and look
to
at
get
that.
him up.
They are all caught up, just like that. That's the draft for you. Around Siberia corner, as they call it, turn 6. And this is where it all goes uphill at this point. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 9 being the long left hand to the crest of the hill at Lukey Heights.
And then
You can
just
see it.
drops you down into the pit.
Yep. You watch this, just kind of climbs and climbs, and then this corner just kind of turns into nowhere. You just tap the brakes, back on the gas, and whip this thing around, climb that curb like a spiral staircase, and then boom, bottom drops out on the brakes.
Hard on the brakes.
And then you have to go to the gas early because that's your start point for the next wide open throttle section all the way down to turn 2. They won't lift through 1.
Yeah, and that exit out of that hairpin is pretty much the slowest corner exit you're going to see all course.
And everybody knows in these cars, there's a really good chance you could be in second at that hairpin and win the race if you can get a good run going to the line. Now, right now, of course, if you're David Payton, you're fighting the fact that Schwenke in front of you has a draft behind Mike Chase, who's now race leader, but they all know that it is possible. You don't have to lead going into 10, but you probably can't be 3rd.
Right.
Now, if these were Vs, you could be 5th.
Yeah, you probably could. Yeah, you could be much further back.
Yeah, spec Fords or Vs and some of those cars, you could definitely come from 3rd to be able to take the lead. The Miatas, probably you need to be in 2nd. You might be able to fend one off if you've got a 4/10 or 5/10 lead coming out of there if you're in one of the Toyotas. So all these drivers are doing those calculations right now to see how this is going to play out. But look at this. Here's Schwenke going to the inside of Chase. Not the Chase. That was at Bathurst last weekend.
Right.
This is the Chase, Mike Chase.
Which, by the way...
I watched a lot of the 12-hour of Bathurst last weekend. It's a fascinating race. It's a good time. It's a lot of fun to watch that. And but here we are, still in Australia, doing what we do. And tonight it's all these touring cars.
All right, let's move back over to Club Sport and the Toyotas, and it is still Porter and Dragota. And this is the difference, I think, Larry, in how the Toyotas race versus the Mazdas. That we just haven't seen the Mazdas, that they don't have enough of a slingshot effect to even get by, I think, although they're able to keep in line very easily.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just the way the Mazdas are. They rely more on the draft. If the Toyotas have a little bit more grunt at certain parts of the straightaway, but they are certainly looking like they can defend these drafts better in the Toyotas than you can. In Mazda, you're defenseless. There's really not much you can do against the draft. In these, at least you can hold your position for a while. And everyone's so worried about this being a long race. If this were like a public iRacing race that's 15 minutes or 20 minutes long, you'd see a lot more aggression because the race is going to be over. You don't have this time. Here we are 17 minutes in, and we've seen all of about 3 passes. Mariano Barrios, I think, has all of them, as he's the only one that's moved up. Other than that, Dragota, Barrios, and Violet haven't changed. Porter still out in front, and everything's just kind of status quo. Barrios just didn't want to get caught back there.
And so this may really, for maybe the first time this season, really bring that pit strategy into play here, Larry. Is drivers, given that again they'll likely have to take 2 pit stops, depending on how they fuel that first pit stop. It could affect how this race ends up, at least in the Toyotas, where maybe some of these drivers think they can probably carry a little more speed from the lead.
Barrios is trying to make the pass. He's got the outside run into 1, which means he'll have the inside of 2 to get in between these 2 Orion cars. I think that's the strategy. Onto the brakes hard. Caught Dragota off by just a little bit, but Leo's he's cool with it. He'll slip in behind Eric Violet, but that now separates the two Orion drivers. Barrios really wanted to make sure he got in there. Let's see if he now makes a press on Porter or if he sits and plays relaxed here for a bit.
Yeah, and I don't know if Dragota had really thought, oh well, we'll just open the door and let Violet through. When Barrios went underneath Dragota got pushed a little bit wide, ended up drifting out a little bit driver's right, and Violet was just very quick to take advantage of that, and there was really no way for Dragota to get back in line there. Yeah,
for where Dragota was, it's difficult to break into two from the outside line. If you notice, because such a long corner, often they end up breaking down the inside. So stepping out and having to do that brakes, he got caught up, and it looked like even Barrios had, I don't want to say brake checked him, but hit the brakes harder than Leo was anticipating, really caused the car to get squirrely. At that point, he overbroke. That's when Violet slipped inside. But Dragota said, okay, it's fine. I'll catch the car. I'll slip him behind, because he knows, again, long race. Let's let this play out. Look at this contact there as Mike Dam just got back into the back of Peyton. I think that was just slightly, but, you know, it's Miata racing.
It's Canadian racing. He's just saying.
To his fellow Canadian?
His fellow Canadian, yes.
Yes, both David Payton and Mike Dam, they come from not the land down under, that's where we are, but from the land of the Great White North.
Great White North.
Matt Porter, the other Canadian in the field tonight. I'm sure Mike Dam gave him a bit of a sorry. No word yet on Mike Dam if he's queued up a song list in case he ends up on the podium.
That's right.
Maybe he can sing some Men at Work for us tonight. Or some AC/DC.
I'd be okay with that, you know, or maybe Olivia Newton-John is more up his alley. I don't know. that would be great. Or maybe he could do like a little Helen Reddy, like You and Me Against the World.
Oh, perfect. It's a good thing this racing is good enough to talk about Mike Dam's singing career, as Mike Chase leads this race just ahead. Sorry, it's Mike Chase is ahead of Travis Schwenke. They're in the lead again. There's been so many lead changes, it's kind of hard to count at this point between Chase, Schwenke, and remember Hartley, who's all the way back in 6th, I think, right now. He led the first 3-4 laps of this thing. All the bottleneck, all the accordion going on.
It looked like he was taking a quick look underneath Thorman there, and very late on the brakes was Robert Hartley.
Well, he is a bit of an expert in this car. This is sort of his area of expertise. He's sort of the master in these things. So watch his patience play out. He knows he's in a draft train. It's another 50-some minutes of this race. He can take his time, although right now, of course, he's got Jeff Cranston, the number 97, the Crane Customs, right behind him, who's probably liking this opportunity to stick with this pack. Different lines coming out of the turn 10 hairpin there, too, you can see.
Yeah, I think Hartley's just showing the nose in almost every corner to Thorman at this point.
Look, this 9-car train. All the way back, Steve Daniel, who's currently the AMP leader ahead of Victor Harris. Harris, of course, had that penalty early in the race for jumping the start. He's 18 seconds back from this train. And I wonder if you're in that position, you've got no one to draft with, knowing this draft train's probably the fastest thing around, I would think about just coming in and taking my pit stop now.
Yeah.
Maybe with luck, you can get caught into the train for the middle part of the race. Victor, at this point, doesn't appear to have done that. I think he's only done his drive-through penalty, so... But he could once that window opens up, which I'm suspecting anywhere past the first 10 minutes, at least the opportunity would present itself, because that's what we're expecting is 30-minute, and then 15 minutes of fuel.
15-minute or so, yeah, exactly.
We're past the 20-minute mark. You could take that first stop if you wanted to, and then come in for your second one later on, but I don't see anybody diving in yet.
Yeah, go short on the first one, go long on the second one.
Yeah, just to catch this pack would be interesting. Even if you're a lap down, your race pace is strong. If you can maintain the race pace, you get the benefit of shorter stops later.
Right.
So maybe something he may try, but we'll keep our eye on him. Like I said, he's 18 seconds back from Steve Daniel right now. Not an insurmountable lead with, you know, a good 45, 50 minutes left. So we'll let it play out while this continues to train along. And again, kind of waiting for that second car there, Mariano Barrios, to try and make a move on Matt Porter, your race leader. He's essentially had the lead since the green flag.
Yep. And Dragotta, maybe, Larry, and you know, we've noted, even given his young age, how he has been, you know, he has a good head for racecraft and for strategy, but it looks as though he's maybe getting a little antsy there behind.
I think what it is, he's antsy to stay on the tail of Violet, and with the opportunity to shake the draft of Andrew Sharp and Tom Rathke behind. I think that's what's really happening. And yes, look at this. We were just talking about these early pit stops. It's actually the Orion teammates at Swanky and Dam have come in. And let's see how this plays out. This is very interesting to coordinate a stop between these two right now and get out of that draft train that the rest were all playing with.
Yeah, and we'll see if they can get out onto a portion of the track where there isn't any traffic, that they don't end up mired in the Toyota race.
So I wonder if Orion drivers have done that in the Toyota or in the Mazdas. Should the Orion drivers, the Toyotas, do the same thing? They essentially have the same limitations on fuel. They have about the same window between the cars. Oh, this is going to be very interesting. They're going to come out probably with that train of Toyotas right in front of them. Or right behind them.
Well, I would say it probably would have been better, quite a bit behind them. It might have been good if they had it behind. Now, the issue is, Larry, that the Toyotas have been running a pace about a second. It's actually, about a second faster than the Mazdas have. And so that Toyota pack may, in a number of laps, end up getting to them, which may be to their detriment. I was say it might have been better if they actually came out behind the Toyotas and maybe got pulled along for a couple laps.
They probably could have, but they've got each other, and that's all they really need.
Oh.
It wasn't Valentine's Day last week. Such a sap. All right,
I hear they celebrated a week later in Canada. So,
and 12 hours early in Australia.
Yes. All right. And so now Hartley pitting in early as well.
Yes, all three Orion Mazdas now are going to take to their stop. Now, 25 seconds, give or take, was the time in the pit stall for Mike Dam and Travis Schwenke. I'm sure Hartley's on comms with those teammates. Ideally, he comes out right with them.
Around them, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now, if I'm one of that top group, if I'm Mike Chase, I'm thinking about doing this because I can stick with the Orion team and use their strategy. The longer you separate from them, the more difficult it becomes to know what their pace is relative to yours. Here comes Mike Dam and Travis Schwenke off the final corner, turn 11 and turn 12.
Hartley has not left his pit stall yet.
Doesn't need to worry about it too long.
Here he goes.
He's about 2 seconds longer in his pit stall than his teammates. See where he goes, though.
It's going to be...
And that is the short exit, by the way, not the long exit.
Oh, it is
tonight.
The short. And look where he comes out, Larry, right with them.
No momentum, though. He's got to catch him in two. You see that? They're doing 100 and whatever they're doing, about 100 miles an hour, and he comes out doing about 70. So it's really difficult to catch them. So he's got a couple seconds now. He's about 2 seconds back from Travis Schwenke.
Oh, and that's Paul Carey.
It is.
Running off. Let's take a look, see what happened here.
I wonder if this is similar to what Bobby had done. Yeah, this is coming down into that hairpin turn 10. And same place we saw Bobby in his Toyota, but Bobby made it around the corner.
And you saw Carey entered it from almost center of track. He was very shallow coming in there. I don't think he had much chance to get the car rotated.
You could do that if you shut the car down, but that's a smart move to give up the car and get it back on the track. But speaking of smart moves, I was just saying, should Mike Chase come in and do his fuel stop now to coordinate with the Orions? He might just be doing that. Brennan Horan, a D2D driver, might be doing the same thing.
Yeah, and that was a great idea by Horn because he was a pretty good distance back from the front of that pack, and he might have the fastest car on the track to pull him around the course.
And right side tires also going on.
Ooh, see that I'm a little bit surprised by, Larry, because I would think that these drivers might take two. Very surprised to see somebody take four. Well, we'll see what happens.
You and I talked about the nature of this track is lefts and rights. It's not equal because it's not a figure eight track, but it has a lot of corners that are long, terrain corners. that will wear cars kind of equally on both sides. So while that may be a bit of a losing strategy now because it's about 10 seconds longer in the pit stall, this might pay off now that you've got 30 minutes on one set. Now you go to a fresh set for the next 45.
Yeah, true. And you can see the Toyotas are getting closer and closer.
And interestingly, it was only about 5 seconds longer for Chase and Horn, who both took 4 tires. So that's going to bring them out about, you can see, about 12 seconds back. I'm looking to see where Hartley and all that. Actually, they're not that far back from Hartley, Schwenke, and Dam. So we'll get to that battle in a minute while Matt Porter still leads this train of Toyotas.
All right, and we saw Paul Carey with that off a few moments ago. He brings his car down the pit lane. He's one of the first Toyotas to come in, although now we're seeing Peyton and Cranston and seeing a whole bunch of them come down and in now. Actually, those are the bunch of the Mazdas along with Carey.
Yeah, it's a couple of them. Kind of everybody's sort of diving in right now, taking that opportunity to get that first fuel stop. This might be the top of the pit window. If we thought 30 minutes was about what they have on board, we're at the 29 minute mark.
we thought that for the street tuner cars, lap 16 would probably be about the max, and they're
right now.
they're hitting 16 right now. Oh,
and that's Brennan Horns, the third one in that 3 wide, getting shuffled out. Now he's a lap down because he's already stopped. He'd love to stay in the middle of all this and use that draft. But wow, talk about it. Harry there with Barrios getting around Porter, and Porter goes to the pits along with teammate.
And Dragotta does as well.
Teammates pitting together, smart move. But I suspect with the other guys, aren't going to be much more than 1 or 2 more laps where they're going to have to come in anyway. Maybe the best time to pit because you had a Mazda in their mix. They were all going too wide. Thought, you know what, let's just get the heck out of here, go to our pit stop, and we'll come back out clean and ready to roll. And there's Jeff Jacobs also taking the opportunity.
Yeah, and that's what I was a bit worried about, Larry, as the Toyotas were starting to come up onto the Mazdas. What may happen there? And I don't think we've seen the end of the mess there, as they're going to come up soon enough on the Orion drivers and on our on with Porter, probably Mike Chase as well.
All right, well, interesting. Of course, 2 teammates here. They come right back out where they wanted to, nose to tail, here in the Toyotas. The other Orion drivers, we saw Schwenke and Dam make their stop. And oh no, that's Eric Violet off in.
And I'm wondering, I'm still seeing Horn in there, and I'm wondering.
Horn's in there with a little bit of damage on his car. That's Mariano Barrios right behind him right now in that Toyota. I see Tom Rafke got through there, but out in front, I think that's Brandon Whitworth. So things have really gotten shaken up. Let's watch the replay here as the Mazda now teammates, by the way, between the Mazdas. But it's Rafke down the inside that ends up
getting Horn, and then we saw Barrios coming down, and we didn't see what happened there to Violet, but it looked like Mariano Barrios, who you can see also off the pace there. He came very deep, and so, there you go.
Yeah, so that's interesting. You have 2 different incidents going on there. The stewards are looking at the Rafke and Horn incident, and they are also looking at the Barrios and Violet incident. So 2 different incidents within about 50 feet of each other. This will definitely shake things up because I don't think Sharp had any issues there at all. He may have gotten away cleanly, and now he's 8 seconds up on Violet. As this crowd now comes in, your leader in the AM category, David Klimovich, is now in the pits. Look at them all up. Brandon Whitworth, Tom Rafke, Barrios, they're all in. This is the onboard replay. Manager Sharp, as he sees cars going left. That's the Rafke and the Mazda incident. Over on his right, that's the other 2 with Violet and Barrios.
And goodbye.
Hey, take the opportunity. If you can get through clean, aim for the smoke, right? All right, so let's see how things shake out with pits. And we're still waiting on AJ Sharp and Eric Violet to make their pit stops. And then we'll see where the rest of the crowd is. This might have also been good for Jeff Jacobs, who may have been a couple seconds back, but with 4 cars in front of him.
Yeah, but I think the whole rest of the field is going to end up coming back to him now with that incident that he picked the right time to head in.
He's currently the highest of those that have already pit.
Yep.
So let's see how much time Sharp gave up. We know Violet was stopped at the side of the track for a few seconds, and that's Chris Thorman who's just gone off. And he may have just put fresh tires on, so I wonder if he's dealing with cold tires. So let's check a replay here. Same spot as some of the other spins we've seen here, coming down the hill into turn 10. Let's see if he gets out of here cleanly. On the gas early, he does not get out clean. No contact to the wall, at least. All right, so here's the last of our pit stops. Andrew Sharp, Eric Violet are both in. Violet, of course, about 8 seconds behind Sharp. There's Violet.
All right, so Larry, we'll let these pit stops play out right here, and then we'll reset the field, and then we'll take a quick break.
Yeah, quick note, stewards have ruled incident responsibility for the Rafke and Brennan Horn incident on Rafke. So he's going to get a black flag. I believe that means a drive to penalty. And then they just assigned Mariano Barrios a plus 10-second post-race penalty for his contact with Eric Violet.
Wow. All right, and so Violet comes out now in, let's see, looks like he may come out right around where his teammate is. Yeah, he's coming out right near Whitworth and Barrios.
Yes. Of course, Barrios has that 10-second post-race penalty coming, so that'll be one spot he potentially gets back.
And Rathke's in now serving his penalty.
And these guys may have done all right in this as well, the teammates of Porter and Jagoda, but as we thought, it's Jeff Jacobs leading this race.
There it is.
But Jeff Jacobs took a very short early pit stop, only a 10-second stop. These guys, these two Orion cars, Porter and Jagoda, took 20-second pit stops. I suspect Jacobs' next stop is going to be quite a bit longer.
Yeah.
He'll stop earlier, maybe stopping around the, 45-minute to 50-minute point of this race, while Porter and Jagoda will be able to go probably till the 65th minute before they stop again. And then, yes, you've got Jeff Jacobs has been well known to be a difficult driver to pass, so that may play in his favor, knowing he's got a later and longer pit stop to make. Maybe he can hold the Orions behind him, as these Orions have got themselves all coordinated together. Mike Dam, Travis Schwenke, and
Hartley's right back up to the back of him. All right, so your top three in club sport: Jeff Jacobs, Matt Porter, Leo Dragoda. In street tuner, it is Mike Dam, then Travis Schwenke, then Robert Hartley. Let's take a quick break here, Larry, and thanks to our partners and sponsors. When we come back, we'll take you all the way to the checkered flag. You're watching the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup, presented by the SCCA Foundation and Performer Elite here on Apex Racing TV. We'll be right back.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
The SCCA Foundation is a 501c3 organization serving as the charitable arm of the Sports Car Club of America. One of the programs partially funded by the foundation is the SCCA Academy, an online learning management system used to keep real-life racing track officials up to date on the highest standards of race safety and officiating. Through this program, the SCCA Foundation is supporting the future of the best-trained corner workers and event officials in motorsport. You can support these efforts at www.sccafoundation.org.